everyone. I'm Siobhan.
I'm Devin.
And we're Sisters of the Darkest Hour.
We're a couple sisters who share a passion for true crime and true crime stories and pretty much anything dark and sinister. And we thought we'd put together our own little podcast and share interesting cases that we come across with other true crime lovers.
So. We thought we'd just share our passion with everyone else. Figured why not? We just sitting around one day and decided, why not, huh?
Yeah, let's give her a shot.
Yeah, and sorry if I mispronounce any names today. I am horrible with names and horrible with grammar. You can ask my sister. She's constantly correcting me on my grammar.
It's a thing.
It is. It really is all the time. And if you happen to hear a little pooch in the background, my sister's dog here keeping us company, she can't go anywhere without him, so...
I can't. He's my little shadow.
Yeah, so if you happen to hear a little pooch in the background, it's her little Cass here. Castiel.
Huge supernatural lover.
Oh my, yes. So, but yep. And again, I want to apologize if I mispronounce anything. I'm just really bad with words.
And I can assure you I'm going to mispronounce some stuff as well, because... some words I'm good with, some, like, other language names, I'm not so much.
Yeah, it happens. But it's not to offend anyone, we're just not very good at it. But, do you just want to get right into it then?
Sure.
Alright, well, we're going to do a case today on Delphine LaLaurie. She was born Marie Delphine McCarthy, or McCarthy. I've heard it two different ways, but this is the way I saw it most, the McCarthy one. I saw that one more than the other one. But she was more commonly known as Madam LaLaurie. She was known as a New Orleans socialite and a serial killer. She was believed to have tortured and murdered slaves in her household, so she sounds like a real piece of crap.
She does.
She was born on March 19th of 1787. In New Orleans of the Spanish Louisiana as one of 5 children. Kind of like us.
Mm-hmm.
She had come from a family of wealth. Not like us. Her family owned a sprawling acreage of 1,344 acre plantation. You know, I would love to own at least like just a couple acres.
It would be nice.
Can you imagine the garden bed I'd have?
There he would have his basketball court.
Yeah. Her son's obsessed with basketball. He loves it. But, her mother was known for throwing wild and extravagant parties. Her father was Bartholomew Louise McCarty, whose father was Bartholomew McCarty. They brought the family to New Orleans from Ireland around 1730. Her mother was Marie Jean Lovable, also known as the widow, Lecompte, as her marriage to Bartholomew was her second marriage. This was the second one. Both were prominent members of the New Orleans white Creole community, and Delphine's cousin was actually Augustine de McCarthy, who was mayor of New Orleans from 1815 to 1820. Then Delphine was only 4 years old when the Haitian Revolution erupted in the 1791 time. Something that made slaveholders in the southern United States and the Caribbean very afraid. They were afraid of resistance and rebellion among the slaves. Not that I want to blame the slaves to rebel against what they were going through.
I would have rebelled.
Oh my, yeah, I would have too. They went through hell. Delphine's uncle had been killed in 1771 by his slaves, which is just a rumor. It's not, don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, their family treated the slaves like crap. The entire family. But on June 11th of 1800, at the age of 13, Delphine married Don Ramon, a high-ranking Spanish royal officer, at the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans. By 1804, Don Ramon had risen to the position of Consul General for Spain in Louisiana. So he moved up in the ranks, it seems like. In 1804, Delphine and Don Ramon traveled to Spain. accounts of the trip, I keep hearing two different stories. Like, it differs. Grace King wrote in 1921 that the trip was Don Ramon's military punishment. And apparently Delphine met the Queen. And apparently the Queen was so impressed by Delphine's beauty, which I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt that too.
I'm not believing that. But that's just my opinion. Could be everyone else's opinion. But yeah. But Stanley Author's 1936 report differed. He stated that on March 26, 1804, Don Ramon was recalled to the court of Spain to take his place court as befitting to his new position, but that Ramon never arrived in Spain because he died in Havana en route to Madrid. Delphine was pregnant at the time, and she actually gave birth to their daughter just a few days after his death. That had to have been horrible.
Yeah, especially at the age that she was.
Yeah, she was really young. She named her daughter Marie Delphine, a really long last name. But Delphine and her daughter returned to New Orleans after that. In June of 1808, aged around 21, Delphine married her second husband. He was actually a prominent baker, a merchant, a lawyer, and legislator, Jean Blanc. When they got married, Jean purchased a house at 409 Royal Street, New Orleans, for the family, which became known as the Villa Blanc. Delphine and Jean went on to have 4 children together, named Marie, Louise, Pauline, and then also Louise Marie LaLaurie, Marie Louise Jean, and Jean-Pierre Pauline Blanc. So now there are 5 children total. Some of their names like they're the same names, but like middle and first names all switched. So
they weren't very creative back then.
No, it's like a mouthful. You're trying to say it the correct way and
Can
everything.
you imagine if your kids are acting up and you're trying to holler for one of them? Like, you think it was bad for mom? Because she'd go through the whole list before she'd get to the right one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But, like, they all share a name in some way, shape, or form. Like, imagine trying to holler for them kids.
Oh yeah, with mom yelling my name and Sean's name, how they always rhymed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I even do that now with our dogs. I'll go through all the dogs' names before I get to the one I want to talk to.
You can do that with our kids.
Yeah, and there's only 2 of them. Your kid and my kid. But yeah, there's 5 kids total now. Her husband died in 1816, so that made her another widow again. Blanc left her deeply in debt, apparently, which was only alleviated after the death of Delphine's father in 1824. And he actually left his daughter a sizable inheritance, so that probably did help get her out of debt there. On June 25th of 1825, Delphine married her 3rd husband. It was rumored she got married again because she was pregnant. So apparently there was intimacy before marriage. And back then, as we all know, that's a big no-no. Cass, what are you doing? Her dog is just moving around here.
I was trying to keep him still and it's not working.
He's fine. He's laying there. But, yeah, it's rumored she got married because she got pregnant. Her physician, Leonard LaLaurie, who was 15 years younger than she was. In 1832, she bought the property at 1140 Royal Street, which she managed in her own name with little involvement in her husband. If she wasn't a piece of crap, I would say go for freaking her.
Honestly, though, I'm wondering, because she was widowed twice. And, I mean, we all know, or we're going to explain how horrible of a person she really is. How did her husbands actually die?
I don't know. I mean, back then there was a lot of sicknesses, too.
Oh, I'm sure. Sicknesses. Y'all didn't see the quotation marks I just did, but, yeah. I'm sure.
Let us know your opinion. I'm actually curious about that. That's an interesting fact. I didn't think about something like that there.
Yeah, I've read this research multiple times and it never dawned on me, like, Did she start killing, like, way back?
Maybe she did. I mean...
She's like, you know what? You're getting on my nerves.
Her second husband was putting her in farther and farther in debt.
Yeah, because divorce wasn't really a thing. I mean, you could get divorced. It was hard to get divorced.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, especially for a woman to get a divorce from her husband.
Yeah, and everybody takes pity on a widow.
Yeah, they usually do. But like I said, she was doing it. I mean, I'd say good for her. She wasn't a piece of crap, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And by 1832, she had built 3-story mansion there, complete with slave quarters. I heard it was only 2 stories, but most places I read it said 3 stories. She lived at the residence with her third husband and 2 of her daughters and maintained a central position in New Orleans. So she was doing it. The marriage soon showed signs of strains, which, yeah, I can see that, especially if they only married because of getting pregnant. It wasn't because that they actually wanted to be together, I guess.
Well, that and the fact that they're both POSs.
Yeah.
You put 2 POSs together, there's bound to be some tension.
Yeah. On November 16th of 1832, Delphine petitioned the court for a separation from bed and board of her husband. Delphine claimed that her husband treated her in such a manner as to render their lives together unsupportable. Claims backed by her son and her 2 daughters by Jean Blanc. The separation did not seem to be permanent, as her husband was present at the Royal Street House on April 10th of 1834, the day apparently a big fire happened. And accounts of Delphine's treatment for slaves vary between 1831 and 1834. Harriet Martineau, recounting tales told by her New Orleans residents during her 1836 visit, claimed that the slaves of Delphine was looking very haggard and wretched when compared to other slaves in the area. However, in public appearance, LaLaurie was seen to be generally polite to the colored people and of her slaves' health. And court records of the time show that Delphine emancipated 2 of her own slaves, Jean-Louis in 1818, I think that was supposed to be, and Devines in 1832. Or it might be 1831 for Jean-Louis. I'm sorry. I mistyped it. Delphine would have lots of parties and dinners and would treat her slaves kindly in front of her guests. Which, yeah, if she wants to keep up appearance, she's going to treat them good in front of her guests. She's not going to treat them like crap in front of her guests.
Well, no. She wasn't dumb by any means. She was smart. Obviously, she was able to, make things happen for herself and pull herself out of debt and manage properties and everything on her own. So she was definitely a smart woman. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she wasn't stupid. And our family did that too, so she learned from her family. It's like, is this a nature versus nurture thing? If her family would have treated the slaves like really well when she was growing up, would she have done the same thing? That's a question that some people have to ask themselves.
I think she was just a miserable person.
Yeah, probably. She's probably just miserable with her whole life.
Probably. I don't see why. She had, don't get me wrong, she worked to get herself out of debt and everything, but she...
No, her dad died to get her out of debt.
She came for money.
Yeah.
And, I mean, granted, they didn't have it easy back then, but she definitely had it a lot easier than most.
Yeah, but Martineau reported that public rumors about Delphine's mistreatment for slaves were significantly widespread, that a local lawyer was dispatched to the Royal Street to remind the LaLauries of the laws relevant to the upkeep of slaves. Apparently, there were laws back then of how to keep the slaves, which actually partly surprises me, honestly. I didn't think they'd have laws.
Yeah, that's not something I saw coming. I didn't know that there was laws about how to treat slaves, because I don't know, that baffles me. Because if they looked at them as human, then why were they slaves?
Exactly. at least give them some type of wage for what jobs they do.
Yeah.
Let them live their life and everything. I mean, seriously.
If you viewed them as human beings, which they are,
Yeah, they're humans.
they were human beings. How do you have the right to own another human being?
Yeah, you should not have a right to own, and no one should have a right to own anybody. I don't care who you are.
Lazy people didn't want to cook their own meals.
Pretty much. But what's weird though is during the visit of the lawyer, they found no evidence of any wrongdoing or mistreatment of the slaves of the LaLauries.
I don't think the lawyer really looked.
Probably not. This is probably like one of those times. Yeah, they made laws back then, but how much did they actually enforce these laws?
Exactly.
Like, if people were seeing them looking haggard and stuff, I mean, I'm sure the slaves probably didn't say anything because they were threatened with worse treatment or something. But it's like, what law? If they were looking haggard, there's no way that the lawyer did not see that. This is probably one of those times of what laws the lawyers came from money. He could have been paid off.
Probably. Or maybe he was blind.
Maybe. I don't know. Selective eyesight.
Yeah.
They say they got selective hearing. This is selective eyesight.
Yeah. I suffer from selective blindness. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I guess there was between 1830 and 1834, it was documented that there was the death of 12 slaves at the Royal Street Mansion. No, the cause of the deaths are not mentioned, but there were, like we mentioned earlier with our husbands, there was a lot of diseases back then, like smallpox, stuff like that couldn't be treated like we can nowadays. And vaccines.
Still saying it's fishy.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's fishy. Like some of these could have died from infectious disease, but if they were in the health that they should have been, they could have fought off any diseases too. So even if they died from diseases, I still put her at fault for their deaths because she would have taken care of them. They would have had a better fighting chance, no matter what.
I'm saying, like her husband's death's suspicious.
Yeah.
The death of her slaves, suspicious.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially this, you'll hear about this one death coming up. I mean, it's crazy. But though the cause of the deaths aren't mentioned, like I said, diseases could have had a big cause in it of the treatment. The deaths include a woman named Bonnie, and she was born 1803. She died in 1833. A cook and a laundress and her 4 children. Juliet, she was born in 1820 and died in 1833. She was only 13 years old. Florence, another one, she was born 1821. She died in 1831. She was only 10 years old. Like, really? Jules, she was born 1827, died in 1833. She was only 6 years old. That's, like, sad. And the youngest was Leontine. She was born 1827 and 18. Oh, my watch is going off. Sorry. Leontine was born in 1829. She died in 1831. She was only 4 years old. That's really sad.
That is sad.
Yeah, and I mean the young children, even in perfect health, they could have died from some type of infectious disease. I mean, because they're so young, they can't. A lot of children died from infectious disease back then, no matter what health they were in.
Yeah.
But I still, in my opinion, they still didn't have a fighting chance because they weren't properly taken care of. They were malnourished and everything.
Yeah, and then you gotta figure, if it was infectious diseases that got them, did it spare them from torture that they would have had they not passed? And Delphine did her sick, twisted, guilty pleasure. I don't even know why she did what she did. I don't know if it's guilty pleasure or what, but were they like, I don't want to say better off, but spared from years of torment.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, it'd been nice if they could live a nice long life,
Yes.
but the life they were living was not all that great. Like, they were
tortured.
Yeah, they were tortured. They were miserable their whole life. Like, even if the kids were born, like the family was born before Delphine got the children and the parents, like, it's just really sad no matter what.
I mean, yeah, it's sad either way.
Yeah.
I guess I think it's more of like, it's a comfort thing to be like, well, if the infectious disease hadn't gotten them, they would have been tortured and suffered for a long time.
Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
Yeah, I guess it's just like a comfort thing to tell yourself.
Yeah, because they're not suffering anymore, but they had it'd been nice if they were able to live a nice long life, but not, unfortunately, not the life they were living, but what else can you do, really?
Exactly.
But, yeah. Bonnie had previously been enslaved by a refugee from Saint Dominique and was described during her sale as a chronic runaway with an influx of white and free Saint Dominique refugee of color. Which, of course, they're going to try and run away. They want to try and get a better life. I mean, come on.
I'd run.
Yeah. I would have too. I can't blame her. But, the fear of slaves from Saint Dominique still lingered in Louisiana. But Martineau recounted the other tales of Delphine's cruelty that were whispered among the New Orleans residents around 1836, saying that one of Delphine's neighbors saw an 8-year-old slave girl fall to her death from the roof of a mansion to escape Delphine's punishment, who was chasing her all because with the whip. All because the little girl, she was brushing Delphine's hair and hit a snag. She chased her with a whip because she hit a snag.
Well, maybe she shouldn't have tangled hair.
Yeah, like...
Maybe she should whip her own self.
Well, the thing is, like... Women back then usually had, long hair?
Yeah.
Don't they? I have really long hair. My hair's all the way down, like, going towards my butt area. And it's not as thick as it used to be, but I can brush it and, like, 5 minutes later, brush it again, and I'll hit a snag.
Yeah.
My hair gets tangled very easily. Like, really.
Maybe she should have just threw her hair up in a bun and called it a day.
Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, the girl's body was apparently buried on the mansion grounds. Jean de Lavigne, in her 1945 account, gave the child age, they think, to her to be around 12 years old, and her name was like Leah or Leia, something like that. But that was her name and everything.
Well, according to Martineau, this incident led to an investigation of the LaLaurie, which they were found guilty of illegal cruelty and forced to forfeit 9 slaves of the household. The same 9 slaves were bought back by Delphine through relatives, thus returning them to the mansion. So they didn't even get out. They got out for like a half a second and got thrown right back in.
Yeah, because they had loophole.
Yeah, she found a loophole in the system. Martineau recounted stories that Delphine kept her cook starved and chained to the kitchen stove, beating her own daughters when they attempted to feed themselves and others.
Like, seriously, just imagine that cook in her life, like, being starved and cooking for a family that you can't even eat the food.
Yeah.
And being chained to a stove knowing you're that close to food and you can't touch it. I couldn't even imagine living a life like that. I mean, we didn't have an easy upbringing growing up, but ours is nothing like this.
I don't know anybody's that was like this.
No.
On April 10th in 1834, a fire broke out at the Royal Street Mansion, starting in the kitchen. When the police and fire marshals got there, they found a 70-year-old cook chained to the stove by her ankle. She later said that she started the fire as a suicide attempt for fear of her punishment being taken to the uppermost room. She says anyone who's been taken there never came back. As reported in the New Orleans Bee on April 11th, 1834, bystanders responding to the fire. They attempted to enter the slave quarters to ensure that everyone had been evacuated. LaLaurie refused to hand the key over to open the door.
Like, really? Why would you do that?
Because you have something to hide.
Yeah.
And you're worried about getting caught. And you really just don't care about people.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's not. The bystanders decided to break down the doors to the slave quarters and found 7 slaves more or less horribly mutilated. This is going to get further into detail and more graphic, and because it's going to explain the torture, some of the torture that they had endured. I don't know if you want to go ahead and skip past this part, if this is a little too graphic for you, but if you want to go ahead and skip ahead, completely understandable, because it is horrible what I am about to say. They were suspended by their neck with their limbs stretched and torn from one extremity to the other, who claimed to have been imprisoned there for some months. One of those that had entered the property was Judge Jean-Francois Canongi, who subsequently deposed to having found in LaLaurie's mansion, among other, a colored lady wearing an iron collar, and an old woman who received a very deep wound on her head, who was too weak to walk. Kanonji claimed that when he questioned Delphine's husband about the slaves, he was told in an insolent manner that some people had better stay home rather than come to others' houses to dictate laws and meddle with people's business, unquote. Which, he's the judge. It's literally his job.
Yeah.
A version of this story circulating in 1836, recounted by Martineau, added that the slaves were emaciated, showed signs of being flayed with a whip, and were bound in restrictive postures and wore spiked iron collars which kept their heads in a static position. Some were tied to a table and others in cages. One witness even claimed that there were people with holes in their skulls and wooden spoons near them that would be used to stir their brains. Some of them had their mouths sewn shut and their eyes gouged out. When the discovery of the tortured slaves became widely known, a mob of local citizens attacked the LaLaurie residence and demolished and destroyed everything upon which they could lay their hands on. A sheriff and his officers were required to disperse the crowd, and by that time the mob had left. The Royal Street property has sustained major damage with scarcely anything remaining but the walls.
Like, that is like, those things that those slaves went through, I couldn't imagine what they went through.
I couldn't either, for months.
Yeah.
Not even just a week. Go through it all was terrible. But for months. I don't know how there were any survivors at all.
Yeah, we don't even know if they survived after this, like, and the stuff, the therapy that they would need, like, they didn't even have therapy back then, really, especially for slaves.
Well, yeah.
It's just, wow.
Well, to top it off, the slaves were taken to a local jail where they were available to the public for viewing.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow. Like, why would you do that? They just been through hell.
I couldn't even begin to tell you what was going through those people's minds. Apparently, a whole lot of nothing. Because instead of letting them have some type of dignity, no, they put them on display.
Well, they also didn't have cameras back then. They needed to show some type of proof of what they weren't exaggerating what they were. I mean, I don't condone what they did.
Yeah, because, I mean, the judge himself saw the horrors.
Of what they went through, yeah.
What more proof would they really need that the public needed to see it?
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. Hopefully they would at least be getting some type of medical attention while this was going on. They wouldn't have to go through this and then get medical attention, because it sounds like some of them, they were in really bad shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they were getting their medical attention that they needed.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, because they were slaves, so.
Yeah, I don't know what all. I mean, they had laws for them, but I don't know what all the laws were back then for them. I should have looked that up when we were researching this.
I didn't think to look up what laws they had, because, I mean, to be fair, how many slave owners actually followed the laws anyway?
Yeah, and like we said, they probably turned their blind eye to it, too.
Exactly.
They had money, they could have been paid off.
Yeah, and they probably were.
Probably. I agree with you. They probably were.
The New Orleans Bee reported that by April 12th, up to 4,000 people had attended to view the tortured slaves to convince themselves of their sufferings. They had to convince themselves that these people were suffering. They were tortured, because apparently they couldn't conceive that, people were just horrible towards slaves.
Well, it could be that also the fact that they couldn't believe somebody actually would do something. Someone this horrible would do something like this. That they're this monstrous that they'll do that. People probably never thought they would ever do something like this.
I mean, I guess. It's still, like, I don't know. But I guess people didn't really respect other people's privacy either.
No.
So, I don't know. To be tortured and then to be, like, put on display, like, I don't know. I can't fathom that.
Neither can I.
It's like you just went through pure hell, and now you have everybody just staring. Because, I mean, I'm sure they were scarred and disfigured and everything else, and then you just have these people gawking at them.
Yeah. They should have been shown a lot more respect than what they were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Pittsfield Sun, citing the New Orleans Advertiser and writing several weeks after the evacuation of LaLaurie slave quarters, claimed that 2 of the slaves found in the mansion had died since their rescue.
Okay, so 2 of them did die.
Yeah, their wounds must have been too severe.
Oh, yeah.
It added, "We understand that in digging the yard, bodies have been disinterred, and the condemned well in the grounds of the mansion having been uncovered, others, particularly that of a child, were found. These claims were repeated by Martineau in 1838 book Retrospect of Western Travel, where she placed the number of unearthed bodies at 2, including the child Leah, the one that she chased around with a whip for hitting that snag in her hair.
Yeah.
And Delphine fled to New Orleans during the mob violence that followed the fire, taking a coach to the waterfront and traveling by schooner to Mobile, Alabama, then to Paris. The LaLaurie life after the fire was not well documented.
I also heard that the coach that took her to the waterfront, when he got back to the mansion. Now I don't know if this was true. This is just one article I saw this on, that he was killed by the mob.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. They seemed pretty angry. They demolished the whole building.
Yeah, but like I said, it was only, don't like count my words, but yeah, that's one article I read that he was killed.
Well, I mean, if he helped them escape, he kind of deserved it.
Except the horses wasn't.
Well, yeah, hopefully they spared the horses. They didn't do nothing.
Yeah,
They're probably the most humane in the whole story.
probably.
Well, while Delphine was living in exile in Paris with her mother and two sisters, Pauline and Laurie, her son Paulin Blanc wrote to his brother-in-law, Auguste de Lesseps, on August 15th in 1842, stating that Delphine was serious about returning to New Orleans and had thought about doing so for a long time. He wrote in that same letter that he believed that Delphine's mother never had any idea about the reason for Delphine's departure from the city. So her mom didn't know what was going on.
From the sounds of it, yeah. But that was rumored. We don't know if that's fully true and everything.
Despite Delphine's bad mood and determination to return, the disapproval of her children or their relatives had apparently been enough to cancel her plan. The circumstances of Delphine's death is unclear. In some places says she died in France in a boar hunting accident, which, God willing.
Oh my gosh, yes. That slow, painful death.
And hopefully, like, that boar ate her.
Yeah.
Just ate her.
Gouged her out and everything.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think that'd be very fitting that she becomes wild boar excrement.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be fitting. Whatever the truth, in late 1930s, Eugene Banks, who served as a sexton to St. Louis Cemetery, number 1, until 1924, discovered an old cracked copper plate in alley 4 of the cemetery. The inscription on the plate read, in English translation, Madam LaLaurie, born Marie Delphine McCarty, died in Paris December 7th, 1842. According to the French archives of Paris, LaLaurie died on December 7th, 1849, at the age of 62. The original Royal Street mansion, occupied by Delphine, did not survive. The mansion, commonly referred to as the LaLaurie or Haunted House, is not the same building lived in by Delphine. After the fire, it remained in ruin. It was then rebuilt by Pierre Transtor after 1838 and assumed the appearance it has today. Over the following decades, it was used as a high school, conservatory of music, an apartment building, a refugee for young delinquents, a bar, a furniture store, and a luxury apartment building. In 2007, actor Nicolas Cage bought the house for the sum of $3.45 million. In November of 2009, the property was valued at $3.5 million. Was listed for auction. The property last changed hands in 2010 when purchased by the current owner, Michael Wallen, or Whalen, for $2.1 million, which would be $2.87 million in 2023.
Okay, yeah, and if anyone wants to check, like, our work or our sources or anything, we did most of our research on Wikipedia and Murderpedia. I know Devin really likes Murderpedia.
I do. I love Murderpedia.
She's the one, I think, who mentioned it to me in the first place when we were doing research, trying to figure out who to do for our first case and everything. But yeah, like, this was a little bit of a doozy. Like, I just don't understand how someone can do something like that. I mean, I really hope that boar really gouged her out. That may be mean to say at times, but I think if someone, I got tongue tied there. I'm sorry, but I think she would have deserved it. If anyone deserved it, she would have been one of them. I mean, you had some choice words for her in this boar.
I did. I absolutely did. Because I don't think that she should have lived out the rest of her days in Paris with her family, being able to sleep and go to bed at night, just fine. Like, yeah, she was mad because she had to leave home. Like, yeah. Are you kidding me? You're lucky the mob didn't get you. And yeah, so my only comfort in this is the fact that the rumor was she died in a boar hunting accident. I don't know if it was kind of like a Dick Cheney situation, or if the boar got her. I kind of hope the boar got her. I hope the boar ate her, and I hope the boar turned her into feces, because that is what she was.
Yeah, like, she was a piece of crap.
She was a POS. And if that's what she turned into, then that is just so fitting. And that would make me so happy.
Yeah, maybe in death she can do something good if she got shit right back out. Turn into something that the earth can grow from it. I don't know.
Like, literally got turned into what type of person she was.
Compost that she needed to be. Yeah, she was a royal piece of work, huh?
She was. She was a POS, and hopefully she became a boar POS.
Yeah. Now, this was our first episode, our first time ever doing something like this, so try not to judge us too harshly on it, but we would like a review on how we did and everything. I know we plan on trying to post at least once a week. Right now we're going to do true crime, but I think we're going to add to it as time goes on.
Yeah, we'll see how well it goes, while it catches on, and, if people even like listening to us. I hope you do. Like I said, this one's kind of, I promise you we are going to get better. We're wonky. We realize that. We apologize. We will get better.
Yeah, we'll get better. It'll take some time, but we will get there. I mean, it will definitely take us some time. It's something we're really passionate about and everything, and we want to share it with everybody. And we want to know what you think about the case too. Like, what do you think with Delphine LaLaurie? Like, I don't think she got the end that she should have gotten.
Unless she got turned into boar feces, then that is so fitting.
Yes, what she says. But I'm curious what everyone thinks about with her husband that Devin mentioned. Like, do you think maybe she had a hand in her husband's death, or
maybe that's why she was such a miserable person?
Yeah, I mean, I am curious on what everyone thinks about that. And
also, if there's any cases that you would like us to do an episode on, please feel free to drop them in the comments, or you could even, we have an email set up.
Yes.
You can even email us directly.
The email is sistersofthedarkesthour@gmail.com. We don't have a Facebook or an Instagram or anything set up yet. We do plan on getting that set up. This is just going to be a starter for right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there. We just have to kind of make the time to go do it. Maybe tomorrow or later this evening we can see about doing it. But we do want to post like one case a week, and we're gonna alternate it. She does it one week and I do it another week. But let us know what you think. We're very, very curious, and we're also very nervous for your reviews. If you can please let us know. And yeah, just get back to us. So I guess we will talk to everyone next week, huh?
We will.
Alright, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.